Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Welding with Mr. Sapanic. Today's lesson is going to be setting up for gas metal arc welding, and in this particular setup it's actually going to be the setup of the MIG gun, or what we know as the whip. First thing that we're going to talk about is this little connector on the end. This little connector is what sends power to our MIG gun. Without our connector plugged in, there's not going to be any power to our MIG gun, therefore no welding will be done. So there are notches around here. You'll actually take this, line up the notches, push it into the pin, and then this end will actually thread on and hold it in place. Once you have that connected, this should also be connected. Okay, this is the end of our MIG gun. This is what actually connects into the wire feeder. Now, on here, there are two sets of O-rings. Okay, this is very important. You have to make sure that you're taking this and in the location inside the wire feeder, which will be an additional video, there's going to be an area to put this. If you don't put this in all of the way, your shielding gas is not going to flow through these holes right here, and then you're not going to get adequate shielding to your wire. So make sure that when you are pushing this in, pushing it in all of the way, because if not, it's not going to work. Now let's go to the other end here, and we're going to do some part identification. Okay, the entire thing is called your MIG lead, okay, or also known as your whip. Then we're going to come up here. This entire thing, this is our handle, okay. Then we have our trigger, okay. The next thing we have is a nut here that actually adjusts, and you can take this long silver thing. This is called your conductor tube, and you can actually move this in different directions. That is with the Bernard MIG gun in particular, not the ESAB Tweco MIG guns. So we have our conductor tube. This can be curved like it is, or it can be straight. The next thing we have is our insulator. After our insulator, the next thing, this is actually screwed in. This is called your gas diffuser. The shielding gas that goes from this end here goes through this liner and comes out this gas diffuser. If you take a look really closely, you will see that there are holes in the end of this gas diffuser. So what happens is the gas comes out of here and it goes over top of your contact tip and it shields it. This is what your contact tip is going to look like. Okay, it's tapered on one end, and this is where it also tells you your size of your contact tip. So this one in particular is 035. This just sits right in the edge of our gun, okay? Now, and the only way that you can hold that contact tip in is by putting what's called a gas nozzle in here, okay? This gas nozzle does a couple of things. It, number one, holds this contact tip in, and number two, if you take a very close look, it also acts as a gas diffuser, okay? So that takes this shielding gas and flows through here to make sure that we have adequate shielding around this contact tip. This goes on very simple. Screw this on here. Then once this is screwed on, you will notice this sits, the contact tip sits about 1/8 of an inch recessed inside of this gas nozzle. There's a reason for this, okay? You have your contact tip to work distance, which is the end of your contact tip to your work distance, to your workpiece. And then you have your visible stick out. So if I turn this sideways, I cannot see my contact tip. So my stick out would be from the end of your gas nozzle to the end of your workpiece. The reason that this is recessed in here is because our stick out is between 3/8 of an inch and 1/2 of an inch. If we get that any closer, what can happen is it's called burn back. Burn back happens when your wire gets too close to your contact tip, and it'll actually burn back onto that contact tip, and it could create what's called a bird nest back at your welding machine, okay? So the other reason is to allow for that adequate shielding. Now, if you're working with something like flux core, your contact tip is going to be sitting flush with the end of your nozzle, and you're also going to have a longer stick out. So flux core, you're going to have between 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch. So MIG welding is a lot closer. You're going to have that recessed in there to make sure that you're not getting that burn back and to make sure that you're getting that adequate shielding gas. The next lesson that we'll go over is we're going to be taking this lead down to the machine and actually plugging it into the machine, sending wire through the whip and energizing this. That's all for today.